Hey, it's Renee Keel, host of TradeIQ and Chief Operating Officer at BrokerBin, the leading B2B exchange for IT professionals, resellers, and wholesalers. I'm thrilled to introduce TradeIQ to you, the podcast that shares the economic stories of IT hardware resale. Each episode, I interview an industry leader who embodies what it takes to realize success in the ever-changing and highly competitive secondary IT market. What does it truly mean to be an ITAD provider? How do companies mitigate supply chain risks? How can your business thrive amidst changing market conditions that eat away at profit margins? Explore these topics and more on TradeIQ from BrokerBin.com. And while I have your attention, I want to personally invite you to attend a BrokerBin Roadshow. This biannual event brings together ITAD and ITAM providers, wholesalers, resellers, and service professionals all under one roof for 2.5 days of high-value networking. Where else can you make a true, authentic connection with other IT professionals in our industry? Join us in Europe in the spring and in the US in the fall. Learn more and register at brokerbinroadshow.com. Can you imagine going back to startup mode after working in the industry for 25 years? That's exactly what industry veterans Scott Hobin and Steve Robinson did in March when they launched their new venture, RackStar Networks, which supports data centers, service providers, enterprises, and resellers worldwide with networking, products, and white glove services. How do we manage working capital as a new business? How do we stand out among established companies? How do we scale? These are just a few questions that Scott and Steve must navigate to achieve success. What surprised them the most during startup mode? It's not anything to do with operations, sales, or marketing. Their biggest surprises come from experiencing the power of personal relationships. On this episode of TradeIQ, Scott, Steve, and I discuss what it takes to launch a new company in the circular tech economy and why personal connections matter more than ever. Okay, hello. Hi, Scott and Steve. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm really good. I'm so excited to have the both of you here today, and it's a treat to have the both of you with me. So that's exciting.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. We're excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys have a lot to share, so we're just going to jump right in and have you tell me about your startup mode. And when you guys were starting up, what were the challenges that you were facing?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Both myself and Steve have been in the industry for a very long time, for like the last 25 years. And with starting RackStar Networks, it was a challenge kind of entering the industry with companies that were already established and already had names out there and had proven track records with potential customers and people in the broker community. So our biggest challenge when we entered the market, which was in March of this year, was getting our name out there and establishing credibility, like that we could supply, good tested products. We had customer support. We had the capability of testing products, troubleshooting network scenarios with customers, and overall, deliverables for the customers. And so that required a lot of us efforts on our ends with like marketing, getting marketing slicks out there, producing videos, online that are on LinkedIn and all of our social media campaigns, and just, getting our name out there so people could receive the message and want to potentially do business with us. Another big challenge was compared to a lot of the more established companies in the industry was just working capital. So like cash flow, managing inventory, being a little bit more scrupulous on what we were going to put our expenditures towards, like for marketing, hiring staff, also, what inventory we're going to invest in to hold in stock and then to later sell at a later date. And so these were all kind of like complexities that we had to like really look into, and like each thing, versus a non-startup, you had to make a decision on it. And so it's been 3 months, and I think we've done a really good job with that.
Yeah.
Kind of tying that in, I think that every decision was it's been so methodical and like strategic for us to make that it's really incorporated a good work ethic for us. So any kind of deal that we're working on, we're a little bit more conservative in approach and making sure that all of our T's are dotted and our I's are dotted. T's are
Yeah.
crossed and I's are dotted. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's a lot though. I mean, that is a lot to do. Like the marketing is a lot, and then figuring out all these other decisions. I mean, like it's just it's a lot. It kind of seems like this has been longer than 3 months, though.
I mean, it feels like it's been like 10 years for me now. But it's, yeah, it's only been 3 months, not even quite. We've got like another week to go. But it's been a lot. And, another thing to add too, for myself and Steve, our skill set and focus is really on customer relations and sales. But we've really had to dive in to kind of figure out what CRM we're going to use,
Right.
what type of accounting software, setting up a phone system. I mean, just it took me one day to get a cell phone set up and like
Oh,
working. And I realize I'm an old guy, but
yeah.
all like the nuances of connecting it and what cell phone provider we're going to use was took a lot more time than we anticipated.
Oh, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure. That kind of stuff always takes more time than you think it's going to. Like there's no
it
such
really
thing as
does.
just like popping into the cell phone store, right?
No, yeah, we went to T-Mobile in this case. We're like, okay, we're gonna go and get some cell phones. They're gonna get turned on, and no problem. We ended up being there for like 3 hours, figuring out like trade-in values, what kind of plans we wanted, how we're gonna add our, future employees and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's how it always goes. Wow. Anyway, you guys are doing all the things. That's exciting.
yes, yeah, and we're having fun doing it too.
Good, good, good. And so, do you feel like in these last 3 months you've had your first big success moment? And tell me about that.
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. So we have had some successes, and one of the things that Scott and I are proud of is, customers put their trust in you to deliver solutions on time and get things up and running. So we've had a few data center installations since we started, and there's a lot of coordination there in terms of, getting racks delivered, getting equipment delivered, getting, electrical handled. Um, Cabling, a lot goes into that in terms of scheduling, coordination, dealing with a lot of different vendors and parties to make everything kind of happen as flawlessly as you can. So customers are putting a lot of trust in us to kind of deliver that solution. And we've had a few since we started, and they've worked out well. They've been successful, so we're pretty happy so far with those successes, and hoping that those initial successes with customers leads to more opportunity, more projects down the road. So that's been great.
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, of course it will, right? Because I mean that's kind of the reason for doing, being so diligent in all of this and doing all that extra work for your clients is to like kind of snowball the business with them and then referrals and
That's
so
what we're hoping.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it works. That's how it works. So let's talk a little bit about this journey from the beginning until now. What was something that's surprised you guys over the last few months?
Well, I would say, in this journey, we've been in the industry for a long period of time. So we've been here since, like token ring, ATM networks to the traditional networking and now to AI. And so along the way, we've always had to adapt and learn. It's been a continual process in keeping up with the customer requirements and, we're staying certified with the OEM lines that we're carrying and just staying astute with the technology, what the customers are asking for. But at the end of the day, I would say the biggest surprise for me, which I'm really learning when starting up RackStar Networks, is the power of personal relationships. Like,
Yeah.
technology is always changing. It's going quick. You got to keep up with it. But one thing that always remains consistent is to have good reputation, good personal relationships, and create that kind of stability or foundation in your customer vendor base, just like kind of whole community, like the whole BrokerBin community, that's so important. And so we're doing a really heavy focus on building that out and really expanding our network and having, meaningful relationships. More person to person meetings, I think, is really important. With this whole kind of industry evolving into automation and I think people are so bombarded by all these different messages and different platforms to be getting on that there's so much coming at them that it's hard for you as a new person to come in and say, like, hey, I'm with RackStar Networks and I can help out, and this is the reason why. So you really need that personal connection. That's a really powerful thing.
Absolutely. Scott, I feel like you're speaking my love language now.
Okay.
This
Well,
is
yeah,
what I
I'm
mean.
starting to learn it more now too.
I would just like die on this hill for sure that your personal relationships are worth more than anything, or that having that personal contact with your customers, colleagues, your vendors, the people that you're working with within the industry, and even a little bit, outside of the industry, right? Like all of the connections that you're making are just so important to have that personal connection. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
love the idea of meetings and just one-on-one conversation, or like the face-to-face, or this virtual to virtual
Right. No,
face-to-face.
I think it's
Just
so
the
important.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I've learned too is even when I've gone to meetings or gone to a conference, like went to one yesterday, I wasn't even really sure what I was going to get out of the meeting at first. I was
Hmm.
speaking with somebody that does like infrastructure for data centers, so like racks and PDUs. It's something that we're not strong on, but we're looking into more. And
Hmm.
once I had that person to person conversation, we actually talked about people we knew in the industries or synergies where we could work together. And we've already
Exactly.
kind of uncovered things that I probably wouldn't have normally had in my quiver of things to sell to my end users, but
Yeah.
because of that conversation in person, it really opened up those kind of opportunities.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly the kind of thing that happens. I would argue that more often than not, when you're having those conversations in person, face to face, you do end up learning or making a connection or coming up with something that wasn't even on your radar. That's usually what happens, or the conversations take a different um path in a positive way and provide some
Mm-hmm.
information or give you give you something else valuable that you would not have been able to know or gain or have learned otherwise. So I think it's really important. So good.
Okay. Yeah, good. We're in agreement. That's
Yes,
good.
we're in agreement for
Mhm.
sure. So changing tack just a little bit, you guys, how would you describe the recent market conditions and what is your outlook?
I can jump in on that one, Scotty. So
Okay.
yeah, I think market conditions right now have greatly improved from say like the past couple of years. I think with COVID, it was kind of boom times because if you had inventory, people would find you. The OEM lead times were outrageous, 12 months plus. So it was beneficial for guys in our industry that were selling used and refurbished gear. So after COVID kind of receded and the market got, I would say, a little slow and a little soft, especially with tariffs coming on board and people unsure of cost and how much it was going to be to ship stuff in from overseas. So I think things got a little soft, a little quiet. But now it seems to me, and I think Scott agrees too, kind of the AI boom is really kind of taking off. And it seems to be going not only with the hyperscalers, the Metas and the Amazons, but it seems to be going down market a little bit, downscale. So those are the types of customers that we service, small and medium businesses, data centers. And so we're seeing a lot of activity in that space. So we're pretty optimistic. We're trying to incorporate not only the hardware sales, but also the services that go along with it, kind of white glove treatment.
Yes.
And that seems to be going well, and we seem to be heading kind of down that road. So I think Scott and I are very optimistic about the future in that regard.
That's
Mhm.
great. That's very, very exciting. And this might be, I mean, you might have just answered this already, but when we think about like innovations specifically, what innovations do you think are game changers in the industry? Are like still on the AI track?
It's
I would
it's.
say we're at,
Oh,
oh,
sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
okay. So I would say yes. I think in innovations, we're very focused on the AI track. That's the big thing in our industry right now. Massive computing. On top of that, though, there's a lot more software automations that are being coming out. A lot of different vendors on the software space versus just hardware are coming into our industry. And then when we're talking about hyperscales and data centers, there's a lot more conversations that myself and Steve are both seeing in infrastructure now. So where before we were really focused on like routing and switching and then campus wireless and networking setups. Now we're like having conversations about like, okay, well, what can you guys do for us for like power or like PDUs or rack systems, or, do you have a connection where we can, talk about liquid cooling or air cooling for our GPU
Wow.
systems? So the conversation has changed. Like, I went to a conference just yesterday here in San Jose. It was a data center focused conference. And I would say about 10 years ago, it'd be a lot of like Cisco, Arista, Juniper, and those players are still there. But now it's a lot more of like power. There's even like real estate companies out there for land for new data center build outs. Half the floor was like software automation to sit on top of the hardware to run automations for data centers to be operate more efficiently, or be able to stay on an upward cycle and not have less downtime, so like more SLA commitments to their customers. So it's an exciting time because I think the whole hardware industry, which we're in and which we're talking about, has really expanded into a lot of other different facets that you can really build your business on and benefit from as well.
Yeah. Wow. That is really something though to think about, like real estate people being like, and what it's really going to take to build this infrastructure and these data centers. I mean, you need people from like all these different industries to come together to make all this happen. It's interesting.
Yes, yeah,
Kind
it
of
was actually.
overwhelming, honestly.
Yeah, it was at the data center conference. There was like a real estate agent there from the Central Valley, California, which is a very big open farm area, and they were
Sure.
selling plots of land out there
Oh
for
my,
data centers to actually build out, and it's just something I've never seen at a
right?
technology conference before. So
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Wow.
yeah,
And so this next question kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of networking in person, and then also obviously what we were just talking about here is like all these other um, different types of industries coming together now at conferences. So tell me how you feel like that changes um, networking and how companies do business with one another, or doesn't it change? It just sort of expands, but touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. So for me, the way I look at it is building a network that you can trust. So for instance, I may not do electrical work, but I have to rely on partners to do that, trusted partners, not only in my local market, but in Southern California, the East Coast. So developing those key trusted relationships that you can count on for opportunities and to service customers is critical. I don't know if it's a good idea for companies to try to do everything that,
Right.
it's hard to be an expert in everything. So if I know of a company that does memory really well, and we're not experts in that, I can rely on those folks to do that. Or servers, for instance, we do some server business, but not core competency. So we can rely on trusted partners to do a good job for our customers, and we can trust them to ship to our customers. And kind of like what Scotty said, those in-person, face-to-face, or at least over Zoom calls, you can develop rapport and trust with our vendors slash competitors slash partners
Mhm.
to service our market and our customers the way we have to. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what I see moving forward, is doing more of that.
Yeah. I love that. And that is so beneficial for everyone to have like a complete ecosystem, right? Of how this is gonna go. Like for your customers, that's definitely providing the white glove service that you were mentioning earlier, being able to say like, hey, if we can't do this, we will like get you the answer, or we will find the person who can, or we'll get you the specialist you need. And I think that's great. I
Thank
love
you.
that. I think everybody should be operating in a
Mhm.
similar manner of making those connections. And because when you think about it, like as the customer or the consumer, when we're in those positions, isn't it nice when someone can help you with the whole thing instead of, you know, I'm gonna give you this product and then you've got to go figure out somebody to help you, make it work or put it together or whatever.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
you know,
Yeah, I think the more you can keep in your wheelhouse and provide that you can really deliver on it. That's a big point of it. the more you can retain of the customer and enhance your relationship, and more opportunities you're going to see. If you just facet yourself like I'm just the router guy, or I'm just the guy who buys back your networking equipment when you don't need it anymore, you've really kind of put yourself in just one little bucket, and you're not seeing any other stuff that the customer is doing that you might potentially be able to provide as well.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like you want to be who the customer calls, even if it's not for your, area of expertise, but still like they trust you enough to call you. So that's great.
Right.
That's great. So tell me, you guys, what motivates you to keep doing what you're doing?
Well, for me, it's problem solving. So when I wake up in the morning, I get to work. There might be some conversations from last night or the following day to follow up with, but it's when customers are like, I need this product, I needed it yesterday, and it needs to ship to like Dubai and one to like, Florida or something like that. And just being able to logistically figure that out, deliver what the customer needs and help them in their day and make them more efficient, provides, good meaning for me and positive energy. Another thing is to actually work with a customer on any kind of problem solving. So if they're having issues with connectivity of their network or compatibility, being able to kind of work with our internal ecosystem of vendors that we're dealing with to help solve the problem for our customers. And so when we can kind of like be able to actually help out the overall customer's operations and add value, you got to find purpose, and that is really makes us feel really good, and also building the relationships from that so people know they can count on us for that.
Yeah, I love that. How would you describe your leadership style and what makes you guys effective leaders? You gonna take this one, Steve?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So for me, I think it's leading by example. So I wouldn't ask any employees to do something that I'm not willing to do. And that comes down to packaging materials, delivering orders to customers, helping customer cable up their network, like whatever has to happen. I don't really believe in siloed, job responsibilities.
Mhm.
And part of that lends itself to not being afraid to make mistakes. So yeah, maybe you're not an expert in invoicing customers, but figure it out. Let's get it done. And if we make mistakes, we'll correct them after the fact. So leading by example and not being afraid to make little mistakes and correcting them if you have to, tends to be my leadership style.
I love that. How many people are on your team now?
So we have
We
five full-time employees, and then we contract in other folks as needed. And Scott, you can chime in as well.
No, I was going to say basically the same thing. We've got 5 people, myself and Steve, that kind of lead the sales. We have Jared Garcia, who is our liaison for BrokerBin and handling our broker sales. And then we have Robert, who's our warehouse logistics and testing. And then we have Luana, who's our accountant. And then outside there, we have all of our kind of contractors that we use.
Yeah, that's a pretty big team for getting started, you guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it's been a good team too, and everyone's been really supportive and been hands out down on making this whole thing happen and happen good.
Good. Yeah, especially when you're in startup mode, right? You want everyone to feel that sort of ownership in the process and feeling like they're a part of it because
Yes.
most of the time in startup mode, everybody had like you were saying, Steve, everybody has to know how to do everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What is one myth about your profession that you guys would want to debunk?
Well, that's the thing I'll take. A lot of times I'm on the phone or in a meeting, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are those gray market guys." And I don't know if that's like offensive term or not, but I think what they're categorizing it is like, okay, you guys have equipment, and it's like, okay, what price can you do, and how fast can I get it? And sure, companies some do operate that way, I suppose, but I feel in our market where we're actually providing both new and pre-owned networking equipment, we have to test and verify it. We have to work with the customer without leaning on the OEM, partnerships in a lot of cases. We're much more than that. We're actually a true VAR, or if you're in the space, you need to be. So you really need to invest in the expertise of your staff. You need to test the products. You need to be able to articulate, technical aspects of why you think this should be designed in the network versus this, or what's going to be compatible and have a value added to it. And if you're just leading on price, an example I always tell a customer, it's like, well, yeah, sure, you can buy it cheaper somewhere else for sure, but what happens if that switch goes down, or you can't get a hold of the person, or the company is no longer around? How much is that costing your company then? That network outage, or their customer base not being able to access whatever they need to on the internet. And that's could be a lot more catastrophic than saving $1 or $2 on an actual switch. And I think, for RackStar Networks and a lot of people in the BrokerBin community, price is, of course, is important, but you can't lead with that. You have to lead with overall service, integrity, good quality of product, and follow up, or you're not going to last.
Yeah, 100%. I wish people would not say gray market and instead say green market, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like the color gray, just like I like the color green, but for some reason, gray seems to have a negative
Yeah,
prerogative to it. Yeah,
it does. For what, yeah, but anyway, we
yeah,
like to say it's the green market, and it's a sustainable, right? It's about sustainability. And even it's kind of interesting because today, there are words and terms out there that like sustainability and even ecosystem, right? And those are terms that are maybe buzzwords today, right? But this
hmm
industry, that's truly been the mission of this industry, or that's been what this industry has been accomplishing for years and years and years.
yeah. And I think we're starting to see more opportunities with customers in the industry, because with this whole AI high density computing, there's a lot more. There's the products are a lot more expensive. There's a lot of supply chain issues with like memory and hard drives, where the typical enterprise customer can't just go directly to the OEM or certified partner. They have to get a little more savvy in supplying their equipment, or they're not going to be able to get it, or on the time schedule they want to. So
Right.
that's really introducing a lot more opportunities to people like us. And so,
Yeah.
I think that's an exciting time for us as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Tell me about the core values that you guys strive to infuse throughout your company's culture.
Yeah, I think our core values are built around being responsive to our customers and our vendors. So being available, being trustworthy, being fair in all situations. Mistakes happen in our industry, in our business. Someone ships you the wrong part, or we ship the wrong part by mistake, and kind of not ducking your responsibilities, but taking care of problems and being responsive, shipping out a replacement part or a refund, or doing what it takes to fix the mistake, make your customers whole or your vendors whole, is a big thing that we try to infuse throughout the company. So, customers, we tell our employees, customers, they don't like mistakes, but if you can react to them positively and fix them, and kind of think long term, like, hey, this is not just a customer, but this is the guy that pays our bills, and we want to have a long-term relationship with these customers. You really need to kind of take care of them and be reactive and be available. So if it's a Saturday afternoon and I get a call and I'm golfing, well, it's time to respond to that customer, and maybe you have to leave the golf course. So that's the type of thing that we're trying to convey to our employees and our staff that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's great because really, and we all should adopt the mindset of like, it's not if a mistake happens or if there's an issue, it's when there is an issue or when there is a mistake, how are we handling it, right? Because there's
Mhm.
gonna be, that's gonna happen. And
Yeah.
so it's not so much about if it happens, but like when it happens, what do we do about it? And I think everyone can appreciate, in our personal lives and in our careers, situations where something happened and the person we were working with took care of it for us or was immediately responsive or accountable or helpful, versus like, not my problem or,
Yeah,
Right.
you know,
absolutely.
so that's great. Tell me about what makes your dream team.
Well, I think it's about a lot of aspects we've already talked about, but I think it's everybody being on the same page, having the same goal. and having the same success, driving forward. And, we work on incentives here at RackStar Networks where like, if we hit certain quotas or, certain customer satisfaction, everyone's kind of incorporated into that. And so you want everybody to be accountable, have the same kind of like quality stamp on every piece of work that they're doing. With a small company like us, like everyone's wearing a lot of different hats. Like,
Yeah.
Steve mentioned before, like everyone has to learn how to like do purchase orders or invoice. So I feel like everybody here from Robert in the warehouse to myself, we all know those kind of facets. We know how to do them well. We know how important it is to have the whole workflow have a good, quality to it. So there's not mistakes that happen, or at least alleviate as many as possible. So kind of everyone on the same page, keeping a positive attitude too, I think is really important. Work's important, but you want to have time to burn off steam. So, we'll do company outings where we golf, or myself and some other people will go mountain biking, to kind of burn off some steam and kind of talk about aspects of the business offline in a different setting. So kind of having a good balance of both, I think is a really important factor to keep that team motivated and keep them going.
Yeah, for sure. You guys have both mentioned golf now, so I can't help myself, and I have to say that we're doing a golf tournament in Orlando.
Oh,
For
nice.
the
Okay.
Orlando, yeah. So
Yeah. So we're
ahead of
both planning on coming out there as well as
okay.
Jared. So we'll sign
Oh,
up for
good.
that for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 We're
Jared's a
both.
pretty good player too.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so fun. Yeah, the event is at a resort with a golf course on the property. So I'm
Okay.
excited. We haven't, well,
Awesome.
it's been a long time since we've added golf to one of our roadshow events, but okay. Sorry to
Okay.
derail. I just had to throw in that
Oh, no, that's good to know. Yeah.
because you both mentioned golf. Okay. Tell me about your greatest challenge currently and how you're working to overcome it.
Yeah, so one of the challenges we're facing now is scaling the business and making sure we have all the processes in place and the tools in place because it has only been 3 months. So some of the things you don't really think about a lot of times is like, okay, I got to place this order for a customer. Do I have a credit line in place to even do that? Do I have the right CRM in place? Do we have the right shipping methodology worked out to ship a trailer full of stuff to India? So all these things that we're trying to take care of prior to having to have the need, we're kind of working in that vein and hoping to address potential problems that may come up down the road. But almost daily or weekly for sure, something comes up that you didn't think about. So that's kind of like back to the startup process
Mhm.
is trying to anticipate problems, making sure we don't fall down and make errors for our customers. So that's kind of one of the biggest challenges we're working on right now is making sure we're fine-tuned and in line and ready to handle opportunities that come our way.
Yeah, that is a process and a challenge for sure because there's so many times when it's like it's not until you're in it do you,
Yeah,
do you know? Like,
right,
like
exactly.
you try to anticipate, you try to plan, you try to be prepared, and then a circumstance arises and you're like, oh yeah, we gotta do that
Deal
or
with this.
that
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
that's okay. It'll happen and then next time it'll be all sorted.
There you
Yeah,
go.
but I also think it gives you a better discipline on each transaction or operation that you're doing for the business because you're looking at it a lot more methodical and you're like, okay, like, you know, what does it take to have this be successful? You got to eliminate the risk and mistakes. And so I think, at the end of the day, it kind of gives a better quality seal on everything that we're doing now. And then as we grow, that will hopefully incorporate with our growth as well.
For sure. It's a very intentional time. And it's also probably providing a lot of opportunities to like do things differently. I mean, sometimes when we've been in business for a long time or doing the same thing for a long time, right? You miss out on the opportunity for like efficiency or different technology or a different process. And so starting new has probably given you guys that opportunity to work through some of that stuff too.
For
It
sure. Yeah.
has for sure.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So tell me how you guys use or actually, let me say it this way. For somebody who might be newer to BrokerBin, talk to me about how you use BrokerBin to help achieve your business goals.
Yeah, so we've been a BrokerBin member, God, since like the mid 2000s or something like that. So a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's BrokerBin has evolved throughout the years as well as we have to use it. And so now it's become an online platform for us to kind of do market research to be able to determine what stock flows are out there, what pricing is out there, where the demands for, different technologies, whether it's in storage or routing or, manufacturers. It's also expanded our global communication footprint, so we can have like partners that we've built relationships with up in Austria, in Latin America, US, Canada, and so it's really expanded that stretch, and we've utilized those relationships too to be able to facilitate better logistics with our deals, where we're shipping directly from the vendor to our customers. One of the things that we're working on with RackStar is soliciting our services to the BrokerBin community as well as end users, which we've already talked a lot about, with like structured cabling that we're strong in, or wireless services like heat maps, site surveys. So kind of really expanding our value add to the BrokerBin community on not just hardware and like, what do you have in stock and what's the price, but trying to enhance that relationship and make it a better benefit to the whole entire community. Because I feel if a BrokerBin member is strong in their deliverables, it just helps the overall industry. And there's thousands of customers. I mean, tens and thousands of customers out there. BrokerBin, there's 1,000 members. So I mean, there's plenty of business to be had. So the stronger we can make each other, the better we're all going to be.
Yes. I love that. Again, this is something I feel very strongly about within the BrokerBin community, is that this network, of BrokerBin members should really understand what each other's strengths are to rely on them. And so I've said this before in other conversations that like sometimes on paper, people might be competitors, for example, but actually there's ways for those companies to work together and to collaborate, and they have different, again, areas of expertise. So yeah, I love it. I love that. I love the idea of the platforms serving the end users as a whole.
Yeah, and I think the webinars that you guys the webinars that you guys are doing, like the cybersecurity one a couple weeks ago, or having the panel discussions at the conferences, or doing the PR releases for members. I think that's really beneficial. It's really making the platform a lot more sophisticated, and there's a lot more different outreach in areas that people can benefit from. So it's definitely growing as the industry is growing as well.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that is certainly our goal in doing all of that. So do you guys have any advice for members to maximize the value of their membership?
Anything?
Scott, why don't you take that one? I think you've been more involved with the broker community in terms of.
No, that's what I figured. I'd say, I'm definitely happy to answer that one. I think to maximize it, you want to use the online BrokerBin platform because it's super powerful. It shows where inventory is at. Sometimes it shows pricing or call. It's a direct doorway to connect with other vendors or partners on the platform. But I think it's also important to then reach out and have conversations or calls with the vendors to kind of build the relationship from there. And, I think the more synergy you can have with the people that you like to deal with, the more powerful you're going to be, the more they're going to be able to better service you because they understand your requirements, your needs. I think, the conferences are extremely important too. The face-to-face interactions, as I mentioned before, in this whole world of AI and automation, where people are getting, tons of emails and like different messages from like WhatsApp, Signal, and like text messages. It's really good to put a face with a name, have a conversation where you can even see like body language and just what personality type they are. Some people are fits with each other, others people are not. And it's good to, I think, vet that out and really have a personal connection as well. I think, in this world nowadays, I think that's extremely important, more now than it ever has been.
Mm-hmm. I agree. 100%. 100% I agree. Okay, so you guys tell me how our members can learn more about RackStar Networks.
Well, so that's we're all over the place. So
Okay.
we're doing a strong marketing push. So we have LinkedIn channels, social media, Facebook, Instagram. It's a little more of a company culture. We have a blog on our website. Going to our website's good. I really encourage people that are on BrokerBin, new and old, to reach out to myself or Steve or Jared directly to kind of find out a little bit more about what we're doing. And we'll be at the conferences. The conferences, as I mentioned before, are extremely important. So when the meetings, one-on-one meetings get set up, definitely reach out to us to spend some time with us. We'd love to tell you our story, and here's yours as well.
Yeah, that's great. And I assume your profile is up to date on BrokerBin, so people can just reach out to you guys directly.
It is. We have our headshots, full description of the company, all that stuff. So
good.
We're good. We're good model BrokerBin students.
Okay, good. I love it.
Yeah.
You get a star. You get a star.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. One thing I'll just mention too is if any of the members have requirements in the Bay Area, like smart hands requirements or anything like that, we're more than happy to help them with their customer needs and whatever we can do to help.
Great. I love that. And maybe even meet up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was wonderful to have you on. Looking forward to seeing you in Orlando. I will not be golfing.
Oh, will you be out there at least though, or?
I'll be out in Orlando, yes, but I won't golf. I actually had a golf club and I moved it, and it was going to be in the back of my video here, but I don't use that to golf. I use that to walk around the sales floor with.
Oh, geez. Scary.
Yeah. All right, you guys. So good to have you. Have a great rest of your week.
You
okay.
Too. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again to Scott Hobin and Steve Robinson from RackStar Networks for joining the podcast. TradeIQ is a production of BrokerBin, the leading global community for IT lifecycle professionals. Subscribe to TradeIQ for new episodes as we share the economic stories of IT hardware resale from industry leaders who work tirelessly to expand asset lifecycles and eliminate e-waste. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on TradeIQ from BrokerBin.com.